The two most catastrophic events to hit this world are yet to come. And yet, when I looked through the literature and pondered these things years ago, one of the most catastrophic events was not included in the literature and explained in the prophecies. And as I looked at it, it was so plain, it was so complete, it was so intertwined between Daniel and Revelation and given in such description, but yet was not explained, was not put out there, the point was missed, unfortunately. And I think it will gain momentum as time goes along. So we're exploring who is the King of the North. When we look at the beginning, we have the cornerstone of prophecy is the image of a man representing the history of the nations, and then it's given as beast powers. And it goes through the beasts, and the fourth beast, 10-horned beast, known as the abomination of desolation, and it has a pagan phase and a Christian, pseudo-Christian phase. And then we focus on this little horn power and the judgment. God brings it to judgment. As we go through the prophecy, there is given more focus and more detail concerning this power. So this continues as we go from Daniel 2, we're going to 7, into 8, and the judgment. And then we come to 11, and people seem to fall off the rails, go off the tangent. Some say the King of the North is Turkey, some say it's the Vatican. So you have different ideas here. But the most important point is the one that is missed. Let's go to Daniel 11:45. And he shall plant, who's he? The King of the North shall plant the tabernacles of his palace between the seas and the glorious holy mountain, yet he shall come to his end, and none shall help him. So if we take it as that same power that was focused on from the beginning, it gives a consistency. James White believed it was the little horn power that was this King of the North. I believe it's consistent. But there's more detail to be added. And he shall plant his tabernacles between of his palace between the seas and the glorious holy mountain, talking about Jerusalem. Yet he shall come to his end, and none shall help him. Now if we come down to Isaiah 14 and verse 4, there's a prophecy here. It's describing the destruction of Babylon. And when we get the details concerning the destruction of Babylon, we look in the Old Testament and we compare that to Revelation. In Revelation 17 and 18, we see the same detail given of the destruction of Babylon of old and spiritual Babylon. It says in Isaiah 14 verse 4, take up this proverb against the king of Babylon and say, how hath the oppressor ceased, the golden city ceased? And so it goes on to in detail concerning the destruction of Babylon. It will be no more. But then it swaps and goes to the power that is behind Babylon. How art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning? How art thou cut down to the ground, which did weaken the nations? For thou hast said in your heart, I will ascend into heaven, I will exalt my throne above the stars, I will sit also upon the mount of the congregation in the sides of the north. So this is the very place that God sits in, and he would sit in that place. In Psalms 48 verse 1 it says that great is the Lord and greatly to be praised in the city of our God and in the mountain of his holiness. Verse 2, beautiful for situation, the joy of the whole earth is Mount Zion on the sides of the north. So Christ is the King of the North, the city of the great King. But the king of the north is that pseudo-power, Lucifer, who presents himself to the world as a god. And we find details of this in Revelation 13. And they worship the dragon. Who was the dragon? The devil, Lucifer. We're told that plainly in Revelation 12. They worship the dragon, which gave power to the beast, and they worship the beast, saying, who is like him? Who is able to make war with him? And so we find in this verse here that it both is looking towards the little horn power placing itself between the seas and the glorious holy mountain, putting itself as it were God, and preparing the way for Lucifer, the god of this world. Yet he shall come to his end, and none shall help him. So more description is given of this when the 10 kings come together for an hour with the beast and give power. The 10 kings give power to the beast for an hour, and they shall hate the whore and destroy her with fire. So there's the destruction of the little horn power, and also further on down the track we have, as described in Isaiah 14, if you keep on reading in that chapter, a fire comes out from within Lucifer and destroys Lucifer. He is finally destroyed forever. At that time when he shall present himself as king, and we have that image of the three friends of Daniel in Mount Jura. They are told to worship this image, which they refuse to do, and so they are thrown into the fiery furnace. And then God, Christ, comes, one like the Son of Man, comes to deliver them. Here is the image of what is going on, what is being presented in this prophecy. The inhabitants of the world all are told to worship the dragon. And those who would not worship, he would destroy. But at that time shall Michael stand up, which is Christ, the great prince, which standeth for the children of their people. There shall be a time of trouble such as never was since there was a nation, even to that same time. And at that time shall thy people be delivered, every one that is found written in the book. This is described also in Revelation. So we have the devil, Lucifer the dragon, the false prophet, and we have the beast. So those three go to gather the kings of the earth to make war with the Lamb. And so what happens is the plagues fall. At that time Michael stands up, and thy people are delivered. Many of them that sleep in the dust of the earth shall awake, some to everlasting life, and some to shame and everlasting contempt. They that be wise shall be as the brightness of the firmament, and they that turn many to righteousness as the stars for ever and ever. But thou, Daniel, shut up the words and seal the book even to the time of the end. At the time of the end, it becomes easy because the prophecies have been unsealed. We can know which is that little horn power quite easily. No longer the papal states. It is the smallest state or power in the world today. In this time, the time of the end, many shall run to and fro, and knowledge shall be increased.